Hello AACC community. My name is Zach Lynch and I am a summer student at AACC. Thank you for joining us for this month's episode of Cross Currents. In this episode, you will learn about the college and meet some of the people that make Anne Arundel Community College the community's college. You will also have a chance to learn about the few of the numerous things that are happening here at AACC.
Today, our special guest is Dr. Matt Yazel from the Department of Psychology. Thank you for being with us today.
Absolutely. Thank you for asking me.
Can you tell us a little bit about your background before coming to Anne Arundel Community College?
Before education-wise, or before I even got into this?
Before you came to the college.
Before we came to college, I was a clinician, a therapist at Anne Arundel County Adolescent and Family Services that worked with community mental health setting, mostly people with low income areas, and was a real strong kind of place to get a base for as a therapist. Also, in addition to understanding kind of the issues of social justice and understanding, how hard we need, to work for people that, are just barely struggling on, or kids that have just tremendous difficulties, and what we can do to assist the family, empower the family, get them to a good place.
Some people might ask, why is psychology important?
I think psychology becomes important in terms of how we view the world, in terms of how we perceive the world. For example, one of the best examples I give to students is how we view certain circumstances. For example, the usual story I'll give is you're going up the 97 freeway, and all of a sudden somebody cuts you off, okay? And your first thought is what? Okay? Oh my gosh, they cut me off, what a jerk, amongst other words that you might say.
Yes.
But what happens if you just misperceive that situation? And that gentleman is actually really hurt, or he's taking his wife to the hospital, or taking his grandmother, or taking somebody else. That's a total misperception. And that's where it starts off in a larger thing. How many things every day do we misperceive in terms of relationships, in terms of friendships, that we need to keep much more attention, provide much more attention to, that we don't sometimes. And I think that's where your starting point happens, is to understand about who we are, what our limitations are, what our strengths are, and actually develop a much better filter for how we view the world.
So since you work for the county and you actually did some hands-on work, how did that impact you as being a teacher here?
A critical piece is the understanding of teaching skills to kids, teaching even parent skills, working with parents to understand that. A lot of what happens with adolescents, things like that, in terms of perspective, is working almost in a directive way to kind of teach skills that, maybe social skills, problem solving, that maybe they don't have yet, but can use in the setting at school or at home, things like that. So that's kind of where it starts. I also taught before 4th grade. Almost 20 years ago in Riverside, California. So so that's kind of where the start of the teaching stuff happens, and then kind of leading on to that.
How was it teaching 4th graders?
Sponges. They're sponges. They want to pick up everything. And I think that what's the most interesting is you are not getting into the boy-girl kind of stuff yet. So they're all focused on it. They all want to get into things. You can have them yell out stuff if you want. Tell me about what an exclamation mark says and things like that. And I think that was the exciting part. For me, going to work every day, knew that I could use all the energy I had, which I have a lot of, and actually just leave feeling like, oh, wait a second, this was awesome. And 4th graders say a lot of neat stuff that just comes out of left field. And that for me was just great.
What are some things you love about teaching?
I love the connection between the students. I love the ability to actually establish a teaching connection on their journey actually as a mentor along the way. I'm just a part of their journey in life and education, and I really enjoy that ability to have a give and take with them and actually say, hey, look, I was where you were. And you know what? You can get to where I am, or you can go someplace else on your journey, but I'm here to actually, be a part of that and to enjoy it with you. And I think that, for me, is the most exciting part.
Can you talk about the connection at Anne Arundel Community College between psychology and diversity?
Critical to an understanding of each other is to actually be able to be put in situations that we interact with each other that are different. Psychology in and of itself looks at that perceptions of how we view each other and actually how we understand the differences and where those actually, in a more important place, where our feelings, our thoughts, our attitudes started out. The way we view things, because it's only when we start to analyze where our kind of understanding of ourselves, what we were grown up with, how we were conditioned, to actually then look at that, and then look at that in the broad context of diversity within a classroom that has all sorts of different cultures.
You're saying that understanding ourselves help us to understand others.
It all starts with ourselves. It all starts with us understanding ourselves. The whole journey is first to understand who we are, because as soon as we understand who we are, we understand our biases, we understand the things that we're open to, the things that we want to actually be more connected with. And then as soon as we know ourselves, we can understand how to react, relate, and to other people. And that's where it all starts, is it's that internal first is the most important.
You have a sports studies program, and can you talk to us a little bit about that?
The last 3 years, we've developed a transfer studies program in sports studies. And the idea behind it is to hook in a whole different group of people that might love sports, but actually might need that hook to come into school. And then we can add those real important things to do general ed stuff, because we've already all of a sudden kind of developed an understanding that, hey, I can succeed in this, and there are good things at college, and I can actually say, well, maybe I'm going to give this a shot in English, maybe I'm going to give it a shot in math, and they're ready, and a competence level has been built. And I think that's the most important kind of, just in terms of just the incentive or the attempt to bring in different people for it. That was the goal of it at the very start, just to hook people in that might not necessarily be interested in things that we provided, general ed and whatever. But that we hooked them in, and then all of a sudden they got the confidence level to actually do those really important classes.
What's one thing people might not know about Matt Yazel?
I was a nationally ranked debater in high school. I went around to places New York, Boston, Albuquerque, DC, and I try to keep that, that quiet, only because then people say, oh my gosh, she can teach a good class, but realize that I was always in front of people talking and things like that. So where that comes again, for me, is the idea with debating is having to provide the best data, the best evidence. And that's where another connection happens with my enjoyment into college teaching. And that is for me a real important variable that historically has brought me here.
Who is your favorite singer or musical group?
Can I have two?
Yes,
because
you can.
It will describe me, actually help with the last question. I have two. The first one is Bruce Springsteen, okay, because of a lot of his actually social justice types of things. The second, for the same reason, but will be a surprise, is Public Enemy. And actually, I've been to more Public Enemy concerts than I have Springsteen concerts for the same reason. Okay, the social consciousness, the understanding of social justice, the understanding of what our world's really like. We live sometimes in kind of just kind of a really bland kind of one flavor society, and we don't get an idea of all the other things that are going on. And I think both of them, despite being very different, actually do connect in terms of the way to understand people more and understand people that maybe we don't run into every day.
I know that you have strong feelings about sports. And can you talk to us a little bit about that and why you're so interested in sports?
If sports doesn't exist, I don't think I make it through school, in particular elementary school. I was a decent student in school, but I was really bored. And my parents were trying to figure out what would get me going. The nuns in school were trying to figure out what to get me going. And they knew that for me, sports was it. So all of a sudden, just this creative process of the nuns decided to make me, in book reports, do book reports on basketball players, history of basketball. Totally unorthodox, probably not done today. They would probably say, oh no, that's not the right topic. But also started to give me math projects, figure out these statistics. And all of a sudden, when I'm doing my homework, the nun said to my mother, let them listen to the radio. Let them listen to the radio to understand these things. And that's where it all starts. And I think for me, sports is intertwined with the enjoyment of learning.
Well, I love the way you connect and the way that they connected math and sports.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for being here with us.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us for Cross Currents. Have a good day.
It's great, just what I wanted, needed.
I know, it's really cool. Yeah, I only have to go to class once a week.
Yeah, I know, I save a ton in gas.
Me too.
So am I going to see you next semester for another flipped class?
I love my flipped classroom. Thank you so much.
What is a flipped classroom? A flipped classroom is a project-driven, learning by doing process.
Thank you for watching this edition of Cross Currents. See you in the next episode. Stay classy, AACC.